Manburg was free. In the light of their independence, Wilbur Soot declared himself as the president of their great nation. Although no one questioned it at the time, this simple act, these few words, would spiral out of control, leading to a new era in the SMP. This was the beginning of the reign of Manburg. Really quick, this video took weeks to make, so if you could take 1 second to subscribe, it is completely free and it would make my day. Thank you. Once again, go check out Lord Cantor, who let me use his recreation of the Dream SMP for this series. The link is in the description. Also, make sure to go follow me on Twitter for some quality tweets and updates on videos. Anyway, let's start from the beginning. As the weeks went by after the war, not much happened in Manburg. The server was at peace, and so there wasn't much Wilbur had to do to maintain their nation. With the addition of a few new players, Manburg went from the only independent nation to just another spot on the SMP, a shadow of the glory it once held. And Wilbur, although being the leader of their nation, began to feel his power slipping away. His lack of presence on the server and self-declaration as president meant that he was not getting the respect or admiration he wanted as a leader. This simple fact sparked a plan in Wilbur's mind. A plan for him and Tommy to reclaim the power they rightfully deserved. Wilbur thought, what better way of getting power than having the people themselves vote for you? They would hold an election. But not a normal election. Wilbur's plan was to notify no one that the election would be taking place until after the ballots had shut, leaving him as the only running party, thus forcing the people to vote only for them and swiftly taking back their power. After making Tommy his running mate, the two ventured off to Manburg to write the election ballot. They then proceeded to set the date of the election and named their party The Right the Best. That's my personal favorite political party. After that, they began work on their new policies. Some of the most important included, "We won the war," "Vicstar will vote for us," "Tubbo," and "We will make big things." Feeling very confident that these new policies would gain them the support of the entire server, Wilbur and Tommy bragged about their plans to one player. Someone new. A man who would seek to ruin their plans of taking power and win the position of president for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, this man was Quackity. Where do I start with Quackity? Holding over 4 million subs today, Quackity has established himself as one of the bigger personalities on the SMP. Always looking for a chance at power wherever he can find it, he isn't afraid to do whatever it takes to find his way to the top. Whether it be starting an illegal business or masterminding a robbery, Quackity is no stranger to crime on the SMP. But today, he would be putting all that behind him. He would be pursuing something else. Because he was the only other player who knew about the election, he took it upon himself to stand up against their one-party system and give the people a choice. Announcing his campaign right in front of Wilbur and Tommy, Quackity's party would be titled So We Are Gamers, or SWAG for short. And with this, Tommy and Wilbur had to think fast, or control in their own nation would be pulled out from under them. Following the addition of the second party, both sides scrambled to recruit as many people as they could to help them win the election. But before they began, Wilbur and Tommy knew that they had to change the name of their party. The Right the Best was a good name. Okay, maybe not, but they knew there was only one word that could compete with swag. One word that was universally better and would provide them a basis of recruiting players to their side. They would run as the politicians of gaming. Their new party would be Pog. As the Pog and Swag parties began their campaigns across the server, they attempted to convince as many people as possible to side with them in the election. Starting with Tubbo, the politicians of gaming managed to recruit Jack Manifold and Niachu, 2 new players to the server who joined shortly after Manburg gained its independence. These new additions were good, but to truly turn the tides in their favor, Tommy and Wilbur knew they needed to get someone powerful. Someone with connections at the top, and someone who was admired by all. They needed to recruit George Not Found. But they were too slow. By the time they were able to ask for George's vote, his allegiance already lied with Quackity. With this, Tommy and Wilbur knew there was a long road ahead in the election, and it would not be as easy as they thought. But they still had a few tricks up their sleeves. Tommy attempted to smear Quackity's reputation by creating a collection of fake quotes that made him look bad. He had also taken books of money from Dream as a part of a Minecraft Deal or No Deal that had taken place recently on the server. Using these, Tommy hoped he would be able to bribe and slander his way to winning Pog 2020, the election. Upon seeing the wall, Quackity had had enough and proposed they hold a debate right away. Wanting to come off as strong as possible, Wilbur and Tommy reluctantly agreed, and with that, the 2 parties ventured to the newly created courthouse to hold their first debate. As the 2 parties entered the courthouse, they took their sides and prepared for the debate. Yet another new player, Carl Jacobs, took center floor as he would administer the debate. Before the debate began, Quackity convinced Fundy to join his side, and following this, the first part of the debate began. Wilbur versus Quackity. The first issue brought to the table was territories.
Manburg has a long history of discrimination against people not from Manburg. I myself, I'm not able to enter Manburg because of the policies these men have put into their property. And I don't agree with that. I'm going to let everyone into Manburg because it's a beautiful country and it deserves to be seen by every citizen in the Dream SMP.
For years, nay I say decades, the Dream SMP has ostracized my group of people. My European brethren stood behind me. Manburg is not a place of oppression, it is a place of sanctuary for our people. What you are intending to do is come into our land and open it up to the very people we seek to escape, just because we've created a better life for ourselves. This in itself is tyranny and I will not stand for it.
Wilbur is embracing tradition here. We don't need to embrace tradition. We are a new generation of politicians, Wilbur. I hope you remember that. Embracing your old school policies is just going to hurt progress.
They aren't old school. These policies were formed from blood not long ago.
Is that so?
Yes.
Your policies all grow from war. Of course, you're a warmonger.
Of course they had to grow from war. We were oppressed.
You love to have wars,
we were
Wilbur.
an oppressed people, Quackity. I led these people to freedom. And I will keep and uphold the policies. Yeah. I will uphold the policies which freed us. Manburg's borders, as long as I'm in charge, will stay closed to all who are non-European.
Choose. Wilbur. The people get to choose, Wilbur.
Topic number 2 was their stances on the killing of pets, as an ongoing pet war ensued in the background of the main story.
If I am re-elected as president, I would like to create a police force that will uphold the law so that no further pets are killed in Manburg.
Quackity, take the stage.
I think the moral values of our people are more important than enforcement. You are enacting police enforcement, and what I'm enacting is a better values of our people. I will enact a policy that will teach all our residents to be nice to each other. And that way, we don't have to enforce any sort of law.
Oh, welcome to the real world, Big Q. I believe if a bad person is going to kill someone's animals, there should be someone to stop them. That's what I'm saying.
What I think is that we should attack the problem from the root. And that's enact and change the morals we all have. No one should be dying, and no one's animals should be dying either, Wilbur. We are attacking the problem from the root. You just want to throw people in jail, Wilbur. I'm not for that.
Tommy, fearing that they were starting to lose the debate, decided to use the money from Dream to bribe Carl into ruling the debate in Wilbur's favor. And after a completely unrelated discussion about political corruption, Carl did exactly that. Next, the running mates would have a debate. This was Tommy In It versus George Not Found.
Now, I think I'd like to address the fact that the reason Manburg was created was for freedom. The Dream SMP wouldn't allow our rules, and it wouldn't tolerate us making our own separate kingdom. And I think the fact, George, that the Dream SMP rigged our land with TNT, exploded everything we owned and loved, my base, my embassy. And merely I had to give away my discs just to get Manburg back. You know, we want to keep that to our members. I think that is a completely fair point to make. And the fact that you would pressure us out of doing that, well, we had to fight with our very hands and knees, my friends. We had betrayals. I had to give away my discs, and you know that's my prized possession.
Yeah, we're talking about freedom here, yet you lock it behind a certain group of people. That
But
seems,
the reason we have to make
I don't
this
wanna
certain
say
group
it,
of
but
people,
that seems
George,
almost...
it's because the Dream SMP, your land, which you stand for, mercilessly blew up our land, killed our
Can
friends,
you tell me
our family, our
why was your land, why did it need to be blown up? What happened in the first place?
George, if you stand by the fact that...
What did you do to spark
George,
this
if you
war?
stand by the
All
fact
you
that
care
something
about
needs to be
is
blown
war.
up, then how
All
dare
you care about is war. You know who wins in war? No one wins in war. And especially not the people. You are causing mayhem, okay? You're causing chaos. The people are hurting from it. They want peace within the land.
Tommy, say shush.
I am leaving my
Shush,
podium.
Goggy.
All he cares
Shush,
about is
Goggy.
war.
After a heated start to the debate, things got ugly when George pulled out proof that Tommy had bribed Carl. The chaos and low blows continued, even catching the eyes of Dream, who joined the call to defend himself and George. Wilbur then called for a brief recess where he discussed with Tommy that they needed to pull themselves together. If they wanted to win the debate, they needed to take the high road, follow the rules, and out-debate their opponent. Following the recess, the debate got back on track, with Tubbo as the new moderator. The final topic on the table was conflict.
When this was a simpler time on this server, we all lived in harmony. And it was very nice, very peaceful, and we loved it. And then you came along. You started wars, battles, killings. The list goes on. And simply, my opinion on conflict is we should keep it to a minimum. But clearly in your mind, you want it to the maximum. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, well, I think my stance on conflict, Carl, that would be that I think only when necessary is it right. I think the point you're making about conflict, and that it probably was a nicer time before I joined the server, but that's only because someone stood up to your tyranny.
If you came on and had just been amicable like the rest of us, we wouldn't have had to have a war in the first
We
place.
were amicable.
If you get elected, what changes will you make for the better?
That's a very good point. I think we're going to make sure that this tyranny, this war, this, I'd say discrimination, we'll be stopping that. I don't want any more of war between people. I think it's very important that the Dream SMP server people understand we don't have anything necessarily against them. We just want to make a clear boundary that, look, we fought for our nation. I gave Dream my discs, and now we've earned it. So I think it's very unfair of you to shout, no, anyone must be allowed. Well, sure, if you'd like to make that your policy, anyone can be allowed. But the point is, we fought for this nation, and the fact that you're trying to take it away, again, make it a part of the Dream SMP is what you're trying to do. And that is the opposite of all that Manburg stands for. And if that's what you stand for, then you do not have my vote.
After the debate fell into chaos once again, Wilbur and Tommy decided that they had had enough and would not continue the debate. They trusted that the people would see through the lies of their opponents and know in their hearts the right side to take. And with tensions as high as ever, the campaign trails continued, growing ever closer to Election Day. September 21st, the day of the Manburg election. Everything was in place and the people were ready to vote. But before they released the polls, the two parties had to give their final speeches and announce endorsements. As they all gathered at the podium, except for George, who was having the best sleep of his life, they began with their speeches.
My name is Quackity, and I am running for president simply because I didn't think it was fair for Wilbur Suit to run a one-party democratic election, or so democratic as he wants to call it. That is why I have gone up and have challenged this man and all his policies, all his old-school policies, to make Manburg a better place.
Hi, I'm incumbent
No,
President
you're not heckling, you just...
Wilbur Suit, and I'm here to tell you the reason I'm running for president is because I felt like it was unfair of me to decide myself to be just a dictator. Essentially,
No
what
weapons in
I'm
the
doing
Manburg,
is
by the way.
I'm running this election to solidify democracy in our great nation of Manburg, and if you vote for me, I'll keep those filthy Americans.
Anyway, following the speeches, Fundy walked up to the mic and just started talking.
My fellow citizens,
Oh.
I stand here
Lord.
today humbled by the task before us, grateful for the trust you have bestowed and mindful of the sacrifices borne by our ancestors. Now I mind to keep my word short and powerful, and thus I say, I am not powerful. I am not
Yikes.
resembled the physique of a leader, and I might not have wealth,
True.
but I do have a dream.
He's got bones like his mother.
While Quackity has righteous ideas and Wilbur the leadership, I, together with Nikki, have a bakery and a worldwide shipping right. I can deliver as many cookies and ice cream as you desire once you have voted for Coconut 2020.
Wilbur was not very happy about Fundy trying to undermine the system and join the election the day it would happen. Because of this, he attempted to send Coconut 2020 away and keep them off the ballot. However, the people wanted differently, and so, swaying to the judgment of the people, Wilbur added Coconut 2020 to the ballot. Things were not exactly going according to plan. What started as an attempt to gain more power has now put Wilbur and Tommy at risk of losing all the power they had. But little did they know it was about to get worse. A lot worse. Next up, the parties would reveal their endorsements.
My one endorsement is KSI. He just hasn't happened to responded yet to my endorsement plead. But he's my one endorsement. KSI and
Sam, you got any
Lord
evidence?
Jesus Christ.
Now, after years of fighting and you know, a general negative presence, I finally got who we needed on our side to turn probably just the entire world around.
Look, me and Tommy have had our differences in the past.
Oh my
that
God.
doesn't change the fact that I'm a firm supporter of POG 2020. I have every belief in it. Support the movement.
I've got my endorsement. Here he comes. The one, the only.
Jay Schlatt, a comedian, a man of business, but behind all lies a calculated man. Life is a chess game to Schlatt, and he has no intention of losing at any cost. He is confident, charismatic, and ruthless. Give him control, he will control everything. Give him a drink, it'll take him 3 seconds. Give him a podium, and he'll rule the world. This was not Schlatt's first time on the SMP. He had made a cameo for one of Tommy's videos shortly after the Disc Saga, but was then quickly banned by Dream, who had no idea Schlatt had joined. But now, he was back, and had no intention of endorsing anyone but himself.
Democracy is overrated.
Whoa, wait, no, hold on.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Just
right.
stick to
You
the-
don't.
please,
You think
the
you need a
script.
president? You think you need? I'll be my own president.
Get off the
You think you want Quackity as your president?
Yeah.
You think you want Wilbur? I'll run my own presidency.
No,
Yes.
no.
You haven't seen the end of
Oh,
me.
God.
Oh, you.
This isn't
No.
the end of. This
No,
isn't
no.
the end of my presidency.
Everything was going downhill, and fast. Dream endorsed Schlatt and proceeded to give him his crossbow. After Tommy was shot, everyone on the podium retreated to the White House and hid from Schlatt. After their blockade was repeatedly broken, the three knew they had to escape and broke out through the walls. After Tommy and Schlatt both died, Wilbur knew there was no point in continuing the rally and decided to drop the ballot. In doing so, he knew he had no choice but to include both Coconut 2020 and Schlatt 2020 to keep the integrity of the election. The votes began flooding in. Tommy and Wilbur sat on the edge of their seats as thousands of their viewers voted for who they wanted to win. The future of Manburg was left entirely up to the audience. With the reality of their chance at losing becoming very real, Tommy and Wilbur attempted to make a backdoor deal with Quackity. In the event that Schlatt 2020 or Coconut 2020 would win the election, Pog and Swag would combine their votes, creating a coalition government with 2 presidents and Tommy as vice president. But Quackity knew this was a bad deal. With no endorsements and no vice president, he was dead in the water. They both knew there was no way Swag would beat Pog, and so when Wilbur refused to make their agreement unconditional, Quackity refused the deal. But he wouldn't give up on the election that easily. He knew that if nothing was done, Pog would win the election and everything he fought for would be for nothing. And so, Quackity offered a similar deal to Schlatt. Swag Party would give all of their votes to Schlatt 2020 on the condition that Quackity would be his vice president. Without hesitation, Schlatt agreed. And with that, all they could do was wait. The future of L'Manburg in the hands of the people. Tommy and Wilbur had faith that the people would come through for their party. But that didn't stop the sinking feeling that maybe, just maybe, this would be the end. The next day, the results were in. 220,000 people had voted, and today, the winner of the election would be announced. Everyone from all across the server gathered at the podium to hear the news. The candidates met on the stage and Wilbur explained what would happen. Today, they would not just find out who won the election, but also inaugurate them immediately. Upon inauguration, the new leader would then announce their first decree as president. Within 15 minutes, L'Manburg would have their new president, and a new era would begin. Wilbur began the proclamation by announcing disqualified votes. By removing votes with the same IP address, Wilbur was able to account for any possible cheating or fake votes. In total, there were 120,000 of these votes, the majority of which came from Coconut 2020, who just so happened to have a coding YouTuber as their party head. Anyway, after that was sorted out, Wilbur began revealing the results.
With 9% of the vote, 20,000 people or so. In 4th place is Coconut 2020.
Yeah!
With
Okay, go on,
16% of the vote, coming in 3rd place is Schlatt 2020. In 2nd place, with 30% of the popular vote, led by the party leader, Quackity, Swag 2020. Meaning that the winner of the popular vote by 45% is Pog 2020, led by the incumbent. 2 nights ago on the night of the election, Quackity made a deal. No matter what happens, Quackity would pool Swag 2020 votes on with Schlatt 2020 votes. Pog 2020 got 45% of the popular vote, meaning that the coalition government of Schlatt and Swag 2020 got 46% of the vote. Meaning that tonight, Schlatt 2020 has been inaugurated.
Schlatt, having been on the server for less than 24 hours, now ruled all of L'Manburg. Wilbur and Tommy sat in shock as the nation they fought for, the nation they built from the ground up, the nation they loved, slipped through their fingers into the cold hands of Schlatt. Wilbur and Tommy left the podium and went to take a seat in the crowd. And Schlatt, now the second most powerful man on the server, gave his first decree as president of L'Manburg.
Well, that was pretty easy. And you know what I said? The day I got unbanned from the Dream SMP, I looked every citizen of L'Manburg in the eyes and I said, you listen to me. This place will be a lot different tomorrow. Let's start making it happen. My first decree as the president of L'Manburg, the Emperor, is to revoke the citizenship of Wilbur Soot and Tommy Innit.
There was no time to think. From leaders of a nation to enemies of the state within seconds, if Tommy and Wilbur wanted to make it out alive, they had to run. and run they did. Wilbur drank an invisibility potion, but it was no use. Meanwhile, Tommy made a break for L'Manburg, managing to escape through an underground tunnel Tubbo had built earlier. Tommy and Wilbur met in the forest. They were now banished not only from the nation of Dream SMP, but their own home of L'Manburg. They ventured off into the wilderness, and as they searched for a place for their new home, they thought about what this meant. They had put everything on the line for L'Manburg, gave their lives for L'Manburg, and now they were forced to run from their creation, betrayed by their own nation. They built their new home in a small hill a few hundred blocks away from civilization. They had to start over. Having only some tools, armor, and a few random items, Tommy and Wilbur hit rock bottom. But then, Schlatt announced he would be giving another speech. Helpless and alone, all Wilbur and Tommy could do was listen, as the nation they once loved crumbled before them.
People of L'Manburg! The sun rises over another beautiful day in our country. I reckon our nation needs to expand. I reckon we've done our country a great disservice. I reckon we take down the walls.
You can't do that.
What? Immediately! All citizens of L'Manburg required to help tear down the walls of this country. Thus ends the second presidential speech. Let's get to work.
The walls. The very walls that protected L'Manburg since the day it was born would be taken down by its own citizens. Wilbur and Tommy could not help themselves and traveled back to watch. As they sat on a nearby hill, their nation's borders fell before their eyes. Wilbur was destroyed. L'Manburg was his dream from the day he joined the SMP, and in the span of 30 minutes, that dream was crushed in front of him. When Wilbur and Tommy arrived back at their base, Wilbur exclaimed that he was a slow-burning fuse, and over the next few weeks, he would become a much different man than the one Jay Schlatt crossed. Tommy, meanwhile, had already come up with a plan. Both of them knew that just the two of them would not be enough to put up a fight against the new L'Manburg. But Tommy had a trick up his sleeve. An old friend, who in the time they needed it most, stepped up and offered a hand. For once since their banishment, Tommy and Wilbur would have something L'Manburg couldn't. Tommy and Wilbur had the blade. Technoblade. Legend has it he can take down an entire army with only 2 other men. Legend has it he once spent 9 months farming potatoes to bully a guy he didn't even know. Legend has it he once entered 1,500 battles and won every single one of them. Legend has it he can kill Dream. After hiding in the shadows and watching the events of the election unfold, Technoblade saw an opportunity. Being an anarchist, Techno looked for any opportunity to abolish government. And seeing hatred in Wilbur's eyes as the L'Manburg walls tumbled to the ground, he knew this was his chance. Together, Tommy, Wilbur, and Technoblade would build up their new base in a ravine underground. Keeping it a secret from everyone on the other side, they hoped to grow their arsenal right under Schlatt's nose. And when the time came, they knew they had to regain control of L'Manburg at any cost. After Technoblade was escorted by Tommy to their base, Schlatt gave his second presidential speech. In this speech, he announced he would be changing the name of L'Manburg to Manburg. Everything their nation stood for, every trace of Wilbur and Tommy, was now gone. And the preparation for war began. Tommy, Wilbur, and Technoblade began by naming their new home Pogtopia. Just a few minutes later, Tommy stumbled across his old strip mine, meaning they now had a direct underground path to Manburg, and no one else knew. By the next day, Technoblade, who according to himself stayed up all night, had created a large potato farm to supply Pogtopia with food. And Wilbur managed to convince Tubbo, a member of Schlatt's cabinet, to become a spy for them. Within a few weeks from their banishment, the resistance continued to build. Technoblade gathered weapons. Tubbo informed Wilbur of all of Manburg's plans, and the path to Manburg continued to expand. Pogtopia flourished and was almost ready for war. They just needed the right time to strike. The nation of Manburg had changed a lot in this time. Office buildings arose, the Manburg flag was burned, and in its place sprouted a new flag, the Manburg flag. On the surface, things in Manburg looked to be going smoothly, but deep down, Schlatt knew it was already falling apart. Word of a rebellion caught wind in the streets of Manburg. A secret group of people plotting to take down Schlatt. The rumored Pogtopia, to Schlatt's dismay, was not hated by the people, but seen as a force of good to save them from his ruthless rule. Many citizens attempted to help the rebellion by offering supplies and information. Schlatt, not wanting to lose any more people than he already had, could not stop them. But he could turn them back. As a last resort to save his dying country, Schlatt decided to throw a celebration. A celebration of the new changes he had enacted as president, and a celebration of Manburg. He had announced the Manburg Festival. This was their chance to show Manburg how powerful Pogtopia truly was, their chance to scare Schlatt out of power, their chance to take back Manburg. But Wilbur had changed his mind. The betrayal from his own people, the destruction of everything he'd worked for, was starting to take a toll on him. On the day of their banishment, Wilbur had said that he was a slow-burning fuse, and would soon be a much different man than the one Schlatt had crossed. And now, more than ever, that fuse grew ever closer to an explosion. After the announcement of the festival, both Wilbur and Tommy knew this was a huge opportunity for them. But Wilbur couldn't shake a dark feeling. The festival was good. Everything Schlatt had done was completely legal. And yet, they still wanted to ruin it with their rebellion. Were they in the wrong? Were their actions justified? None of it mattered. Nothing changed the fact that Wilbur, after weeks of hiding away, had not made it any closer to getting back Manburg. And as the days passed, so did the nation he once loved. His unfinished symphony. A new plan began to come together for Wilbur. Losing all hope of gaining back control, Wilbur chose destruction. After all, he created that nation. It was his. If the people can stab him in the back, betray the very founder of the land in which they lived, why can't he do the same? If he can't have it, no one can. This was the new plan. Since the beginning of Pogtopia, a secret supporter fed them supplies and an offer of help whenever needed. An old enemy, Dream. The leader of the nation of the Greater Dream SMP was not much of a fan of Schlatt's ambition. Wilbur had every intention of keeping Manburg inside its walls and living peacefully. But when Schlatt became president, he immediately tore down the walls and began to expand. Seeing this as a potential threat, Dream secretly offered to help Pogtopia, to take down Schlatt before conflict arose between Dream SMP and Manburg. Wilbur, looking for a way to blow up the entirety of Manburg, sought Dream's help to supply him with the firepower to do so. But before he talked with Dream, he explained his plan to Tommy, his right-hand man and partner since the beginning. But Tommy could not go through with it. He still had hope of getting back Manburg. He still had hope that things could go back to how they'd been before. He didn't want to be the bad guy. But Wilbur didn't need his help. All he needed was TNT, some redstone, and a button. And before long, Dream had agreed to supply Wilbur with everything he needed to blow the entire city sky high. Within a few minutes, the plan was finalized. On the day of the festival, directly after Tubbo's speech following the words, "Let the festival begin," Wilbur would make his way to the detonation room, press the button, and destroy everything. With every seat in the front of the podium filled, with every citizen of Manburg sat right there in the city, he would blow up everything. And he would do it with a smile. The day of the festival finally arrived, October 16th. The stage was set, decorations sprung from every corner, and everyone was ready for a celebration. Everyone except Wilbur and Tommy. Having rigged the entire nation with TNT, Wilbur's plan was still a go. He just needed to wait. And as the festival drew closer, more and more people logged on to party. They all gathered at the presidential podium. Tommy and Wilbur hid on top of a nearby building to attend the festival in secret. Among the attendees was Technoblade, who unbeknownst to Schlatt was on Pogtopia's side. With Tubbo having been debriefed on the plan before, all the pieces were in place. Today would be the day everything changed. The festival officially began as Schlatt gave a quick speech. Following the speech, the people of Manburg and Technoblade went off to party at Carl's Party Island. Upon seeing the people, his friends, happy, Wilbur began having second thoughts about blowing up Manburg. And so, to help bring himself to clarity, he called Tubbo over to talk with him and Tommy. Wilbur explained his dilemma, the innocent people that would be at risk for his selfish gain. Tubbo agreed with Tommy that there were better ways to handle the situation, but also trusted Wilbur's better judgment. Entirely unsatisfied with his answer, Wilbur decided he would make Tubbo choose for him. The fate of Manburg rested on Tubbo's shoulders, and as Tubbo received the news from Wilbur, he was called up to the stage to give his speech. If Tubbo said the words, "Let the festival begin," Wilbur would immediately sprint to the button and detonate all of it. But if he didn't, Manburg would live to see another day. And so, with the entire nation balancing on his words, Tubbo gave his speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to look around at what we've built today. Look at each other. All of this, thanks to democracy and the leadership of Jay Schlatt. And isn't that what this festival's all about? Democracy. Our people have been beaten down by royals and dictators for so long, now we are finally free. Free to elect who we want, free to live how we want, and most importantly, free to go wherever we want without the confine of those huge black walls. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to this wonderful event. What's up, Schlatt?
You got anything else in the speech?
No, on that note, let the festival begin.
Wilbur ran. The deed was done, and today would be Manburg's last. Within seconds, the entire country would be reduced to rubble. All Wilbur needed to do was wait for Tubbo to clear the stage, and it would all be destroyed. But something wasn't right. Before Tubbo could leave the podium, Schlatt and Quackity quickly trapped him with concrete and cobblestone. Confused, Tubbo asked for an explanation, and Wilbur ran back to the building to see what was happening. Then, Schlatt gave another speech, unlike all that came before, and it didn't take long for the true nature of the gathering to be revealed. This was never meant to be a party. There was never anything to celebrate. This was no festival. No. This was an execution.
Tubbo,
Yeah?
I know what you've been up to.
What have I been up to? What are you talking
What
about?
have I been up to? He says, what?
Actually, I'm actually trapped in here,
With
Schlatt.
the idiots, with the tyrants
What do you...
that we kicked out of this server, that we kicked out of this great country. Tubbo, I don't know if you know this, but treason isn't exactly a respectable thing around here. You know? I know what you've been doing. It all adds up, buddy. Your absence from great events. I mean, you walked off in the middle of this one. Don't try and tell me that you've done nothing wrong, because everybody knows it. Do you know what happens to traitors, Tubbo? nothing good.
Ooh.
Hey, Technoblade, you want to come up here for a second?
What do you want out of me, Mr. President?
Oh, I only call you in for special favors. Techno, I need you to take him out.
What?
You're not gonna take him out to dinner, bro. You're gonna kill him. You're gonna kill him right now. And make it hurt. I'd rather rule alone than with you.
Technoblade!
What? You softening him up.
Tubbo, I'm sorry. I'll make it as painless, as colorful as possible.
What the hell?
Oh my god!
Button. Let me go!
Kill everybody!
Everyone, go after Tommy in it!
Chat, where's the button? Chat, where's the button? Chat, where's the button?
We leave!
Everyone, go after Tommy in it!
We gotta get out of here!
Tommy.
Wait, Tommy's here?
Oh my god! Oh, we gotta get out of here! Tommy's on his own route!
What just happened? What just happened? Don't let him go!
Oh my god!
What is happening?
Oh my god!
The festival had gone completely off the rails. Wilbur could not find his button, and Technoblade, their partner since the start of Pogtopia, had betrayed their cause and executed Tubbo. As the people of Manburg gathered back at the podium, they were angry. Schlatt had taken things way too far. Standing up for Tubbo, Nikki, or Niachu, openly stated her opposition to the government and what they had become. As Schlatt was about to order her execution as well, Wilbur stepped in, no longer afraid of being seen. He spoke of the injustices Schlatt had done not only to him and Tommy, but to his own people as well. Then, distracting the associates of the government, Wilbur told Nikki to run, saving her from execution. Following the chaos, Tommy, Tubbo, Wilbur, and Technoblade met at Pogtopia. Tensions were high. Tommy, enraged by Techno's actions, the killing of his best friend, challenged him to a duel with no weapons. As Nikki showed up to join Pogtopia, Techno and Tommy prepared for the duel. Wilbur, in love with chaos, sat enthusiastically as his two friends fought to the death. Technoblade, being Technoblade, won the duel. And as the rest of Pogtopia continued to process what had just happened, Wilbur spoke to Techno. And within seconds, the two agreed that the next time the chance came, they would both team up to destroy everything. After the events of the festival, Manburg began to spiral into chaos. Tubbo was not just a friend of Tommy's, but a friend of everyone. And Schlatt ordered his death in cold blood. What little support Schlatt still had faded away. One by one, his own people deserted his nation to join the uprising. Fundy, Ponk, and Jack Manifold had all left, leaving only Quackity, Carl, and Schlatt on the side of Manburg. But this relationship was not without its troubles. For weeks, Schlatt had ordered Quackity around, insulting him and completely disregarding his ideas. It was enough. Quackity was more than one of Schlatt's pawns, and he had to show it. After an intense argument about whether or not the White House should be teared down, Quackity was finally fed up, killing Schlatt and running off to join Pogtopia. Welcoming him with open arms, the rebellion sharpened their swords, loaded their bows, and prepared for one final attack on Manburg. In mere days, Tommy, Wilbur, and Tubbo would have their chance to take back the nation they once loved and bring peace to the SMP. But first, some last-minute allegiance changes occurred. Not long after the festival, a new faction arose on the SMP. Although it would not be officially recognized for quite a while, the group still vowed to play a role in the upcoming war. Created by Bad Boy Halo, the nation of the Badlands consisted of Bad Boy Halo, Ant Frost, who also joined the SMP shortly after appearing in one of Dream's manhunts, Awesome Dude, and Skeppy. Together, These four sought to take control of the server through always helping the losing side of the battle, to keep conflict going indefinitely. Although Manburg was clearly weaker than Pogtopia, for the upcoming battle, the Badlands would support the rebellion. At least until they were winning. Most of the members of Dream's faction, the Greater Dream SMP, remained neutral during the battle, not wanting to create unnecessary enemies. That being said, some could not just stand by and watch their friends fight to the death. One of these players was Eret. After betraying Manburg in the previous war, Eret was made king of the Greater Dream SMP for his efforts. He enjoyed his place as king, but everywhere he went he was reminded of that fateful day by the people he helped destroy. He couldn't live with the decisions he made, he regretted it all. But no apology would make up for what he did. No one would forgive him. So he decided to show his allegiance and rebuild his trust. He would fight with Pogtopia. But there was a catch. Upon hearing word of Eret's plans, Dream rushed over to the castle immediately. There, he explained that if Eret wished to fight in the war, he would have to forfeit his position as king. Eret once again faced the choice between his friends and power. But this time, he chose differently. Schlatt was running out of options. As of now, his army consisted of himself and Karl, which, could be a bit better. Because of this, Schlatt had to use his last resort. Calling a secret meeting with Dream, Schlatt offered something to Dream in exchange for fighting alongside him in the war. A secret book, something powerful. The only person who knew the contents were Schlatt himself. But whatever it was, made Dream risk his own nation's relationship with nearly everyone on the server. He immediately accepted the deal and agreed to fight alongside Manburg. With this, the stage was set. The final pieces moved into place. The war was set for November 16th, exactly 1 month after the festival. The battle drew near as days turned to hours and hours to minutes. This was it. The battle to end all battles. As the armies logged on and prepared, the fate of Manburg hung in the light of the rising sun, and the dawn of the 16th had arrived. There was a traitor. In the midst of Pogtopia, there was a traitor. A few days prior to the war, Dream had spread word that a traitor lied in the rebellion. Over the days leading to the war, tension ran high in Pogtopia. But no one cracked. The rumored traitor had not made a move, and some questioned whether this traitor ever existed in the first place. Unanimously, everyone decided to move forward with the war, vowing to destroy the imposter the second they showed their true allegiances. With this, the two sides prepared for battle. Wilbur and his army conversed about the possible outcomes of the war, and Wilbur plainly stated that if they lost, he would turn the entirety of Manburg to smithereens. Altogether, he had laced 11.5 stacks of TNT under Manburg. And the second they lost, he would ignite every last piece of it. Tommy feared the thought too much and assured everyone they would not lose. Technoblade, however, endorsed the idea of chaos. While the rest of Pogtopia had been engaging in petty conflicts and drama, he had been preparing weaponry for the past month. Such is the life of Technoblade. Upon informing the army of his secret stash, he led them all through the forest and into a lake to his underground base. As they descended into the armory, everyone was shocked. The walls were lined with chests and the armor stands engulfed by netherite armor. If anyone wasn't prepared before, now they were. The army swept the chests, grabbing anything and everything that would help them in their pursuit of victory. Fully geared, the group exited Techno's base, gathering at the foot of the path to Manburg. Months of buildup led to this moment, their chance at freedom once again. The sun began to set. The people took one last look at each other. Friends, enemies, it didn't matter. Today, they were something more. and as they took one final glance down the dreaded path, they knew it was time for war. And with a fiery passion only he could, Tommy charged ahead, leading his army to battle, to take back their home. Schlatt and Dream's army held a watchtower at the end of the path and immediately began firing upon Pogtopia's arrival. Knowing that the absence of cover gave them a huge disadvantage, the army quickly rushed the tower to force Manburg off from below. Within seconds, the first few to reach the top of the tower forced Dream and his men to retreat back into Manburg. Unlike the last war, this time the rebellion was in control. Holding the tower, Pogtopia rained arrows on the Manburg army, who fired back. It didn't take long for Pogtopia to realize they were winning, and immediately they coordinated another push on the Manburg army. Jumping off the tower, the armies engaged in close-range combat, and Carl became the first death, falling to Technoblade. They were winning. The army continued to attack Dream and even forced Purple to surrender, turning him to their side. Running out of options, Dream stopped fighting and requested to speak alone with Wilbur. As they started to talk, Dream pointed out that he made a mistake to fight with Schlatt, as despite his entire nation being attacked and having bribed one of the most powerful men on the server to supply him an army, Schlatt didn't even bother to show up. Upon realizing this, Dream saw no point in continuing the battle and announced Manburg would surrender. But Schlatt wasn't gone yet. After announcing the surrender, Dream led everyone to the remains of the Camarvan. Here lied Schlatt, broken and unchanged, the leader of a dying nation at the end of his reign. Both armies gathered around to witness what would be his final moments. In one final act of despise, Wilbur, a man once broken by Schlatt, cast away from his own land, ordered Tommy to execute him, to put a stop to the tyranny and injustice of an unfit ruler, and to finally end the reign of Manburg. But before Tommy could pull the trigger, Schlatt began acting strange and...
What?
What?
Oh dear.
Did
Did he just have a heart attack?
The Camarvan. The place Manburg began and the place Manburg would end. With Schlatt gone for good, Pogtopia had won the war, taken back Manburg, or should I say, Manburg. Dream announced that there was never a traitor in the first place and the whole thing was made up to distract them. With this, they needed a new leader of their nation, someone strong, someone fair, and a true leader. And for some reason, Wilbur chose Tommy Innit. The people agreed, and Tommy took his place on the stage to give his first speech as president of Manburg.
It looks like we won. And I never thought I'd say this, but even after the hardships, the tyranny we'd been through, it was meant to be. As much as this is everything, and this is what would have been everything, I can't be the president. I've still got unfinished business, because you've still got those discs. I can't do this until we're done. So Wilbur, take your place on the podium.
I have something to say. Look, I'm gonna keep this brief, right? I also cannot be your president. Techno, you've taught me a lot. You've taught me that government is not the way to go, and I agree with you. To be honest, I feel like whilst I can't be here to judge how other people's governments are ran, I can say that it would be hypocritical of me to run a government. So I'm gonna hand off the presidency to someone. Tubbo, I want you to come up onto the stage.
Yes!
I've been put on the spot here. I wasn't expected to be surrounded by here with friends, enemies, which I don't hate all that much, I'll be honest. But I enjoy seeing the unity, and I feel like that's really what matters. I don't want to be an agent of chaos, if you will, or anyone who wants to start violent activity. That's honestly the last thing on my agenda right now. And I feel like, you know, now everyone's here in unity, no one is banned, and that's what counts. Thank you, everyone. It's been an honor. It's been.
Tubbo was now the president of New L'Manburg, and following the speech, everyone teamed up to take down the decorations from the festival. Tommy congratulated Tubbo on his new position, and L'Manburg celebrated its freedom once again. But Wilbur was nowhere to be seen. In the light of their celebration, blinded by bliss, nobody had noticed Wilbur sneaking away from the crowd, alone. That's what he was, alone, sent on an ever-diverging path from sanity. He made his way to the back of the hill. This time, he made sure to mark the entrance. This time, the plan wouldn't fail. And as the people celebrated outside, Wilbur entered the detonation chamber. The words of the L'Manburg anthem enveloped the cold stone walls, and the single button stood in the middle of the room had the power to destroy it all. Outside, the celebration came to an abrupt end when Dream revealed that there actually was, and still is, a traitor. Almost on command, Technoblade shot his firework launcher, killing Tubbo again. The people were in shock, and the following events would change L'Manburg forever.
You guys listen to me. I did not spend weeks planning this revolution, giving you guys gear for you guys to go in and replace one tyrant with another. The thing that I built this nation for doesn't exist anymore. The thing I worked towards doesn't exist anymore. It's over.
What are you doing?
Don't you see what's happening here? Don't you see history repeating itself? You think Schlatt was the cause of your problems? No! It was government! Alright, well everyone just walked off in the middle of my speech. I'm killing everyone. We're killing everyone.
Let's get him!
Phil, I'm always so close to pressing this button, Phil. I've been here. Like 7 or 8 times I've been here.
And you want to just blow it all up.
The government ends here. I'll kill it myself!
You know who was the traitor? Tommy, the traitor was Wilbur.
There was a saying, Phil, by a traitor. Once part of the Manburg. It was never meant to be.
Oh my god. What? Oh my god! No! Oh my god! Oh my god! Will! It's all gone!
L'Manburg was gone. The people stood in shock as Wilbur and Phil stood in the now exposed detonation room. Having completed his mission, Wilbur was free at last.
My L'Manburg, Phil! My unfinished symphony, forever unfinished! If I can't have this, no one can, Phil! Kill me, Phil. Phil, kill me. Phil, kill me. Phil, stab me with the sword. Murder me now.
No matter what you want, I can't.
Phil, kill me, Phil. Murder me. Look, they all want you to.
Wilbur was now gone. A mere memory of an idea. Freedom. It's what he sought all this time, and now he finally found his peace. But Technoblade was not satisfied.
Tommy,
Yeah?
do you think you're a hero? Is that what this is?
I just wanted L'Manburg.
You just wanted
And I
power.
That's all I've ever wanted. I didn't.
Tommy, you just did a coup. You just did a hostile government takeover and then immediately instilled yourself as president. And then you gave it to your friend, but that's still a tyrant, Tommy. But the thing about this world, Tommy, is that good things don't happen to heroes. Let me tell you a story, Tommy. A story of a man called Theseus. His country, well, his city-state technically, was in danger. And he sent himself forward into enemy lines. He slayed the Minotaur and saved his city. You know what they did to him, Tommy? They exiled him. He died in disgrace,
despised by his people. That's what happens to heroes, Tommy. The Greeks knew the score. But if you want to be a hero, Tommy, that's fine. That's fine.
Technoblade, don't do this.
Don't do this,
We're
Techno.
so
Don't.
close.
If you
I'm
want
not
to
the
be a
hero.
hero,
No
Tommy,
one's the hero. We've got
if you want to be a hero, Tommy, then die like one!
This was the real war. Technoblade and Dream fought to protect the Withers. The world erupted into chaos.
I'm shooting from the pie.
Don't detonate more! Ooh, this creeper's still double!
Kill him, Big Jim!
I saw too far away.
Tommy,
You got it.
They're all dead.
Manburg was in shambles. The Withers had been killed, but not before causing even more damage. The land was disfigured. Once a nation, a home, was now nothing but a crater. The people of Manburg overlooked what was left, wondering why. But they would never get their answer. Dream and Techno fell back into the shadows, having accomplished everything they set out to do. And with this, the war was finally over. Pogtopia had lost, Manburg had lost, and the only winner was chaos. Over the next few weeks, the people would begin to build a new Manburg. Filling in the crater with water, new life began to emerge from the everlasting scars of its creator. Tubba would remain the president of this new land, hoping to bring unending peace. But in his quest to abolish conflict, one action would separate the inseparable. Tubba would exile his own best friend. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to get notified when the next part comes out. Also, make sure to go check out my new merch for just the coolest designs ever. And finally, comment down below your thoughts on the video and what you think could be better. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video.